Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. We are so excited to have you here. If this is your first time watching, welcome. We are the BosBabes, and what we cover are different charity and entertainment events around the city of Boston, centered around our favorite sports players in the city giving back, because as some of you may know, they do a lot of really good work behind the scenes that doesn't always make it to the forefront. So it's really great that we have the opportunity here to not only bring in local athletes, their wives, their girlfriends, and meet other people in the sports community here in Boston that are doing some really good work. So first things first, Brittany, how was your weekend?
My weekend was actually pretty fun, but something weird happened. So I was actually in Marlboro. I was filming something, and I locked my keys in my car. I will let you guys know that the Marlboro Fire Department, they have some really hot firefighters there. So if you guys ever lock your keys in your car, give them a call. They came within literally 10 minutes. I thanked them, and they used the little Slim Jim to get my keys out of the car, so I thanked them for that. I also went to Lawrence Central Catholic High School with Matt Robato. He's actually the owner and founder of Boston Man Magazine, which Emma and we love him. He's super awesome. We go to a lot of his events. Check out his social media, Boston Man Magazine. He actually went and donated 15 basketballs to those kids, which was really awesome. So he's highly involved with charity events in the local area. So that was a lot of fun. So that's what we did. What about you? I know you've been prepping and getting ready for your wedding, and you were down at Martha's Vineyard, your favorite place ever, this weekend.
Yes. So that was really fun. We got our marriage license on Friday, which was really awesome. It just is always my favorite place to be. They also had the Beach Road Festival this weekend, which was a lot of fun. Kept me very, very busy, but they had a lot of really cool talent, which was nice too. The funniest part from this weekend, though, was actually when I was leaving. I was telling this story earlier that as we're leaving, I have my ticket in my hand. I'm talking on the phone to Jake and just, blah, 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 blah.
Jake's her fiance, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The wind kicks in, grabs my ticket, and just flies it. And I'm like, oh my God, where did it go? And I look, and it's in a boat. And I'm like, oh, crap. Okay. So, of course, I'm on the other side of the wall. I have to run all the way down the dock to go all the way around and try to get it. And, of course, it's like there's one boat here, a second boat here, and it's in the third boat. So
you're just like boat hopping to get your ticket. I could just picture this in my head. Emma doing like jumping jacks or whatever to get to her ticket. Like it's a game, like it's a challenge.
But thank God my parents took me boating and stuff as a kid, because I was like, okay. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, I'm in heels. I was like, I'm gonna bust my butt. I'm gonna bust my butt. And I was like, you know what? Okay, now or never. Do it. So I just,
Did you end up getting the ticket?
I got the ticket.
She got the golden ticket.
I held up victory. And it was so funny because I got it and I was like, yes. And I scramble back and I get to the dock and I look up and everyone's staring at me and they're like, yay, you got the ticket. And I was just like, oh my gosh, all these people just watch this all happening. So that was my awkward moment from this weekend.
So we both had awkward moments. She couldn't get her ticket, but she got it last minute, and I locked my keys in the car. We're two peas in a pod.
Yeah, just Hot Mess Express.
Hot Mess Express, guys. But here we are. We're going to jump right into our national sports stories, because that's usually what we cover next after we talk about our amazing weekends. So we're going to kick off right now. Obviously, tonight we have a special guest in studio. We're going to get to that in a little bit. We're going to talk all about WAGs and baseball, a little bit about the Boston Bruins. So right now we're going to show you a quick photo of Drew Pomeranz. So I almost feel like Emma and I, 2 weeks ago, that we kind of like cursed or put a jinx on Drew Pomeranz.
Whoa. Hey, that's not me. It might
have been me, but 2 weeks ago we were talking about and congratulating the fact that Drew Pomeranz and his wife, Carolyn, actually went from the Red Sox to the San Francisco Giants.
Yeah.
I kid you not, 2 days after we aired our show, it shows up on ESPN that he got traded and sent to the Milwaukee Brewers. So here we are, and that's why we're here. We have Taylor Higgins in studio. We're going to be talking about that in a little bit. How crazy it is being a WAG and having to travel and go from state to state and not knowing what your next move is. So congratulations to them. They went from the Red Sox to the San Francisco Giants. Now they're with the Milwaukee Brewers. Next up, we actually have, he's still with the Red Sox, Austin Maddox. He is actually dating a good friend of both Taylor and I. He is currently rehabbing his arm. He's actually doing very well. He is hoping to be back. We don't know if he's going to be back this season, but he hopefully will be back next season. But he injured his arm, but he's been rehabbing his arm, just recently started throwing. But I wanted to showcase him. He's a great guy, good friends with our friend Deanna, and Deanna's actually going to be on our next show August 26th, so I did want to showcase the Red Sox because they're both amazing, great people, and Austin, again, dates our good friend Deanna, who's also a former Boston Bruins Ice Girl. What do you think about the Red Sox this season and trades and Austin and people having to rehab their injuries and whatnot?
I mean, I think that that's the nature of the beast, right? I mean, when you get into, the sports world and in dating players, I mean, it's not something that I've ever done personally, so I can't speak to what that experience feels like. But it does seem like it's kind of something that you sign up for that okay, you're going to have to do some traveling. And there are a lot of people in different lines of work that do that. And it can kind of go either way, right? I'm sure sometimes you get the deal and you're like, yes, this is exciting. This is a town I've always wanted to check out or try. Or maybe it's someplace that they weren't so interested in. But I'm a firm believer that life takes you, different places for a reason. So even if at sometimes it didn't go exactly, the way that they might have wanted, or if we as fans may have wanted it to go, that it's for a specific reason for that person.
For sure. I totally agree that everything is a new adventure and a life experience. And speaking about that, it's a great way to segue into our special guest, Taylor Higgins. We're actually going to cut to her video and we're going to start her interview, but she is so incredible and I cannot wait to share her story with you all.
What's up, guys? My name is Taylor Higgins. I am a best-selling author, a former Boston Bruins Ice Girl, and a former pageant queen. Come on inside. I'm going to take you inside my house and show you how I live and what I do. I was Miss Teen Massachusetts in 2013. I actually have a pretty unconventional pageant background. I went to a dress store one night for a New Year. I was getting a dress for a New Year's Eve party, and the owner of the dress shop actually suggested that I do pageants, and I was like, you're crazy. But I ended up, fast forward 3 months later, I actually did the pageant and I won. That was my first ever pageant, and I won the crown that time with very little prep and very little time. One of my most memorable events was actually the Buzz for Kids event that we did at Gillette Stadium with the Gronkowskis and other football players. It was one of the greatest things I've been a part of. It stays with me until now. I mean, I don't forget what happened that day. I was shaving kids, we were raising money for kids with cancer, and it was just really, the people that I took away and met from that event was just incredible. I was a Boston Bruins Ice Girl for the 2014 and 2015 season. Being an ice girl is just something that I'll never forget. I take that with me for sure for all my life. Being underneath the garden or being in the stands when fans are erupting or when there's a goal goes off, and the anthem, just so many different things. I got to see Renee Rancourt perform right in front of me. We were highly involved in the community. Nothing like the energy when the Boston Bruins score a goal or when we win a game. Being in the garden, meeting the fans, seeing them come up the escalators, just being there to introduce people and get them ready and hype them up for the game was something that I will forever hold in my heart. I am an international best-selling author on Amazon. I wrote a book called Between the Stitching that you'll see right there. Between the Stitching is about my treacherous relationship with a minor league baseball player in the Boston Red Sox organization. The ultimate goal with this book was to basically help people that have been in a bad relationship recover and come out stronger than ever.
So the beautiful and talented Taylor Higgins is in studio with us right now, so feel free to ask us any questions that you guys have. You know where we are, so feel free to type those questions in. But Taylor, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I cannot wait to kick off this interview because I actually read the book front to back, and I am actually jaws to the floor, some of the things that are written in there. If you guys have not had a chance to read it, grab a copy. It's called Between the Stitching, and the whole book is basically about Taylor and her being a young woman and going through the ups and downs of, at the beginning it was a pretty okay, decent relationship, and then she goes through this roller coaster of, I don't even know how to explain it. You just have to read the book. But we're going to get right into that. But first, we're going to kick off the fact that she was actually Miss Teen Massachusetts. She actually had zero experience in the pageantry world, but she was out dress shopping one day, and somebody actually said to her, hey, you know what? I think you should try out for this pageant. So can we touch upon that and your experience and how much you loved winning for the first time, not even having any experience?
It was crazy. So I'll tell you guys the story. It was New Year's Eve. I was going to a party and I needed a dress, so I went to this local store to get a New Year's Eve dress. And the owner of the dress shop, by the time that we were leaving, she was like, "You need to do pageants." And I was like, "No way, absolutely not. I have no experience." When I think of pageants, I think of people that do them their whole life, right? They have all this prep and experience. And I was like, "Absolutely not." But by the time that I left that store, I had a coach, I had a trainer. They set me up with everything. They were like, "You're doing this. We believe in you. We want to, sponsor the gown and everything." So I think it was 3 months later that I actually competed at Miss Teen Massachusetts. I was going up against girls that had been doing pageants their whole life, and I won. I was in shock. If you actually watch the video of me winning, I'm standing there. You know how you hold hands with the girl winning, and I'm like, me? I had no idea. I was so caught off guard. I didn't know why I was winning or how this was possibly happening, but it changed my life. And I met the most amazing people. Sometimes when people think of pageants, they think of, just big hair and gowns and stuff. But every girl that I know is either from pageantry or just my involvement in the community. And I'm so thankful that I just said yes to that opportunity.
And I know that you had little to no prep time.
Yeah.
Which is also incredible. I also love that in your book, you also described the fact that during the Southie Parade, you had the opportunity to represent your grandmother who passed away, which was a very sad chapter, of course.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that experience and being in the Southie Parade and representing your nationality and your grandmother and being able to wave hi to everybody. And I know it was kind of like a down moment because you were thinking about your ex at the same time.
Sure, yeah.
But talk about the happy moments.
It was bittersweet. So if you're listening and you're not from the area, the South Boston, the Southie Parade is just, it's like Christmas in Boston. It's like a highly thought of celebration here in the city of Boston. So I was asked to be in the parade with Miss Massachusetts, who is Juliana Hanlon. Hey, Juliana, if you're listening. And it was just really cool because I was just parading around the streets of our beloved Southie, and I got to see people that I knew, people that I didn't know. People were running up to the car that we were in just to say hi. But at the same time, my grandmother and my dad is actually from South Boston, and my grandmother lived in Southie their whole lives. And we had a banner on the side of the car that we were driving in, and it was in honor of my grandmother because she had recently passed. And so I felt like I really got to honor my family, and my dad is like Irish proud, so it was just really a nice time to, just be in the city. It was bittersweet, but I was thinking about my ex, which we'll get into that and why I was thinking about him during that time momentarily, but it was cool.
We will definitely get into that. I just wanted to touch lightly upon you being a pageant title holder. I want to jump into Boston Ice Girl. So we'll also talk about that in the future as well, why you wanted to become a Boston Bruins Ice Girl. But I know that you had auditioned, you ended up making the team. Talk about your experience and the charity work that you did while being a Boston Bruins Ice Girl.
So making the team was a really fun experience. I actually applied and I made it to the final round the first time. Nobody knows this. I made it to the final round, and I didn't end up doing it because the guy that I wrote the book about didn't want me to be an ice girl. He didn't want me to be in the spotlight. So fast forward a year, I actually auditioned again. I made it to I made it through both rounds. First time ever being in the final audition, and I made it right through, and I made the team, and it was just cool. I was, I think, 18 at the time, and here I am. I get to walk around the garden and represent the Boston Bruins, and it was just one of the coolest experiences ever. We were highly involved in the community, but nothing just competes with being in the garden when the Bruins win a game or score a goal, hearing the buzzers go off, or Renee Rancourt singing, as I mentioned in my video. It was just something that I'll always have with me. Really cool experience.
I imagine that feeling must have just been incredible. I mean, I know even just going as a fan, just being there, you're like, yeah, let's go. But to be on the ice
it's so cool.
Must be amazing.
One of my favorite things we used to do was the t-shirt toss, and we'd roll t-shirts, and they look like little burritos, and we'd be way up in the nosebleeds, and we'd be like, who wants a t-shirt? And people would go bananas for a t-shirt. So I was just like hucking shirts at everyone. It was so funny. But
I love that.
It's so fun because Boston, you know how they are, especially in the nosebleeds.
They're
after
like,
a few,
want a t-shirt. Woo!
After some beers, it's like it gets pretty rowdy up there. So it was a blast. It's just so fun.
Now, what made you want to be an ice girl in the first place? Because, I mean, obviously you see them and you're like, oh my gosh, those girls are so pretty. Like, everybody wants to try out being an ice girl. But was there something special that made you really interested in the team?
So I was actually a figure skater my whole life. I love ice skating. I wanted to compete, but I never did. And with figure skating, I made it all the way through the badges, as they used to call them. And then I never ended up competing. But my dad and my brother, I come from a big hockey family. And there's a lot of passion for the sport. So I said, why not? Why not combine my two loves for, skating, being on the ice, with hockey, which I really do love too. So it was just the best of both worlds. I'm like, why not? It'll be fun. So I ended up doing it with one of my best friends, and we made the team together.
Oh, that's so cute. I love those stories.
It was so cool. We were both like, our numbers were called back to back, and we were like, holy crap, that's so awesome. I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. So it was fun. All good memories to have. And, like I said, there's nothing like being in the Garden when the Bruins win and you're wearing a crop top and people are like, yeah, it's so fun.
I think the best part about this whole situation is not only did you make the team after wanting to join the team for so long and sort of doing it against your ex's words, but you got on this team and it kind of got you away from your ex a little bit, because you would be out doing these community activities, being in front of the fans, getting to be yourself and wear makeup and wear a cute, pretty outfit and not have to have him be there and shunning you and whatnot. Although he used to do it on the sidelines. He would call you and want you to be home in a certain time, which I thought was really rude. These are all things that are from her book. So again, we're going to jump into her book soon, but between the stitching, we're talking about all these topics because they're all outlined in her book. And again, I read it back to front, so I know I did my homework, I know what I'm talking about. But
you read it backwards? You read it back to front?
Did I? Front to back, front to back.
She started at the ending.
I mean, I guess I could read it that way, but...
All right, so that's how I'll start it.
That's how she can start it. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I read the whole book from front to back, and it's very incredible. And again, I love that you went against his words and tried out for the team, because that's really what you wanted to do. And it sort of took you away and took you out of that mindset of, all right, I need to start eating again. I need to start looking pretty again. We actually have Mrs. Higgins sitting right next to me, off-site, listening to the interview right now. But in the book, again, if you guys read it, there's some really heartbreaking situations where Mrs. Higgins is like, Taylor, like, why are you crying? What's wrong? Like, you need to snap out of this and you need to wake up and become the woman that you need to be, like, be an empowered woman. So we're here today to talk all about her book, what she's done in the past, and sort of how she's recuperating and being an empowered woman all over again.
Yeah, and I just like to say, like in that video that you guys just shared, you see those videos or pictures rather of me as an ice girl, and I'm smiling and I'm happy, but little do you know what I was going through at that time. I was actually just documenting everything that was going on with this guy in this book, and I was under a lot of stress and turmoil, but I looked so happy. So it's really cool to see how everyone has a story, and you never know what someone's going through at that time. And I think that's really important to just note, like, always be kind, because you never know what someone's going through, right?
So after going through that experience, we keep talking about the book, so I feel like we're
going to jump into the book now.
What made you want to turn your experience into a book? Because it's a very difficult thing to talk about.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I've always loved writing, even in like middle school. If I was bullied, I would just turn to writing. I even wrote like a small book when I was in middle school, because I was bullied in middle school. It's always been therapeutic for me to write. I began documenting some of the things the events of the things that were happening in my relationship, just in like a note in my phone, super casual, or a journal, just because he would convince me that these things weren't actually happening. When, we'd go through this, we'd had this horrible argument and he would just make light of it. And I was like, I don't even believe that this is happening. I thought I was losing my mind. So I started to write things down, and then every time something went wrong, I would just write about it, so I could have it. And then when we finally broke up, 2 years in, after everything, I remember just telling people. I started telling people, like, what happened? You guys look so happy online, because that's what, you share your photos, and everyone's like, you guys look like the perfect couple, right? But it was when I started talking about the story and telling people, they were like, hey, that happened to me too. And like little bits and pieces of my story started actually being part of other people's story. And I was like, I think I'm onto something. I think that I'm at just the tip of a very large conversation that needs to be had. And I was like, I'm going to write a book.
I like how you highlight in the book, you obviously met a lot of wags being on the road. So Taylor, her experience, she met this guy really young. She was like 18, 19 years old. He was in the minor league. I think he played for the Paw Sox when he started, or...
He was with the Portland Sea Dogs up in Maine, and then he went to the Pawtucket Red Sox.
So she outlines or highlights that they went up and down a lot. So he would be really high when he got moved up to the Paw Sox, but he was really low when he was down in Portland, because they didn't really make a lot of money. And what I found really rude was this girl literally gave up her life for this guy. Like, didn't really want to be involved at Miss Massachusetts, didn't really want to be with the Boston Bruins. Like, she wanted to support her man to the fullest. And she's an ace of a future wife. Like, I don't know what he saw wrong with this whole situation, but she literally gave up her life to follow this guy around and to support him in his career. And the things that he did were horrific. He literally, and we'll have you elaborate on it, but this is just what I read in the book. he used to have aliases of himself on things like Tinder and probably Facebook, like fake names. Steve Smith, and he would message
Oh my
girls.
gosh, wait.
He would message girls on
American
Twitter.
Dad?
I don't know, just the most basic name in America, Steve Smith. I'm like, you can't even get creative.
He would basically have these aliases and message girls and like lie to Taylor and invite these girls to the games that she was at.
Oh yeah, and that's common. I mean, there's a lot of times I've sat at games, and the interesting thing about the guy that I wrote about is that he was on the Portland Sea Dogs and the Pawtucket Red Sox with pretty much the current rostered Red Sox now. So they've all advanced. Obviously, this guy has chosen a different route, but the guys that he played alongside with are the guys that we see on the field today. So I am familiar with some of the wives and girlfriends of that. I mean, there's been a lot of trades since then. Obviously, it's been about 5-6 years now, but I mean, majority of them are still on the current rostered Red Sox team. So, I mean, I've seen some stuff in the stands. People, they have multiple people all at once.
Okay, can we just press pause on that? Because that is kind of making me crazy. Like, wait, so he would invite you to the game and then invite another girl, like, and she'd just be sitting somewhere else randomly in the stadium?
Yeah, so there's a section for, like, the wives and girlfriends, and whenever there's, like, an outsider, you're like, everyone's like, Who's that? And are they with my husband or my boy? Like, nobody knows. And then so, like, someone has to go and ask. Like, you kind of want to ask, but you don't want to be like, are you here for, like, so-and-so? Because you don't want to seem insecure, too.
So you're like, but you play it off in a certain way.
You're like, that wouldn't be for, he's not going to do that. But it's true. And sometimes they won't let them sit in the wives and girlfriends section. They might just sit elsewhere in the stadium as a decoy. But there's so much stuff that I've seen some stuff.
But let's just say there is some positivity here. Not every athlete, not every guy cheats. So I just want to throw that out there. We are not crapping on the Red Sox or any professional athlete in particular. We're just here highlighting her book, and we don't want every wife watching this to think that their husband, if they're a pro athlete, that they're cheating. But we are here talking about Taylor's book and her personal experience. So I do just want to throw that out there. If you guys are dating a pro athlete or a college athlete, do not be freaked out because you might have a good man like Lauren Melkis, who was in last week. She's dating
they do exist. I know
there are good men that exist.
I know a fair share of, and this goes for anything. This isn't just professional baseball. This is
exactly
anything. You could be a lawyer, you could work at Dunkin' Donuts. It doesn't matter. It's just, I think it has a lot to do with your upbringing and your values and your morals on life, and parenting too.
We do have to talk about his family in a bit, but before we keep talking about your book, we want to cut to this amazing woman. So there's a woman named Mary. She owns a company called On the Road Again Bags, and she's actually from Massachusetts. She makes these handmade bags and totes. So you guys can check out her website. It's ontheroadagainbags.com. That's actually a really awesome website and her logo. So Emma's going to show you one of her beach bags. Obviously, Emma loves the beach totes because she's all about the beach. But this woman is super cool. So she makes these great bags out of, she calls it upcycling. So they're essentially materials that are, here's another tote. I'm going to have Emma show it as I talk. So these materials, this right here is actually an old seat belt. Like I met with her and she told me everything that these products are made out of. This is an old seatbelt.
Okay, that's funny because that's what it feels like. And I was like, that feels like a seatbelt.
But it's actually really cool and sturdy. So she takes these old recycled materials that are in good condition and basically makes products and totes and beach bags out of them. So it's a great way for her to be creative and showcase her items. She's actually going to be working with some of the Patriots cheerleaders very soon, which I'm excited about. Alicia Capone, who's going to be on a future episode, but she's going to be making some charity items for them. She owns her own charity called Strong Her, which we love. We're going to be working with her very soon, but please check out Mary on theroadagainbags.com. She has some great products from the local area, from Massachusetts, and everything is made right here in the U.S. So we want to give a shout out to Mary. Thank you for watching, and purchase some of her bags. I mean, everything goes to a good cause, and she's local, and everything's made in the U.S. Why the heck would you not? And they're great products. They're beautiful.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too, is about, I mean, we all kind of understand, right, that we're at this point with our planet where we need to really start doing every little thing that, we can do to save it. And even if that means, like, using different materials to create, like, all these different things that you can do, like, that is such a creative and cool thing that you can do. There are, like, and that is such a nice, way to just kind of repurpose things and reuse them. I mean, we all kind of do our part here and there, or at least we should be. But to be able to have something like this on your arm, it's such a cute, like, beach bag just for the day. It is adorable, and I'm really excited to rock this weekend. So if you see me out, yes, I'm going to show you. I got this bag from Mary, and it is amazing. But we're going to cut to our commercial breaks coming up in just a second. So we're going to just let some of our sponsors talk to you guys a little bit, and then we will be right back after this break.
At Bad Martha, we believe in 3 things: great beer, getting bad, and doing good. Every sip of our premium craft beer is a reminder that there's a paradise out there where you can kick off your boat shoes, let your hair down, and leave it all behind. That paradise is Martha's Vineyard. And while there's a bit of bad in every drop of beer we brew, there's also a whole lot of good that comes with every bottle we sell. That's because Bad Martha is built on a simple idea: community first. We're proud of our beer, but we're even more proud of the island that inspired it. We hope you enjoy both just as much as we do, and look forward to continuing the tradition in Falmouth at our new location opening summer of 2019. Bad Martha. Get bad, do good.
Herd Restaurant, conveniently located here in Metro Square, features locally sourced, delicious meals created by a multi-talented chef. Herd satisfies even the most discerning palate. We love to welcome you to come to Herd so you may eat, drink, and spend time together. Watch for specials on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter feeds at Herd on Main, and come visit soon.
Today. Good. I'm here to talk about how with technology you can make amazing worlds. Come with me. My team and I bring the Halo world to life.
Is that you?
That is me. I wasn't a math genius and I knew nothing about coding. But you guys do. You guys have the power to change things.
I want your job.
I want you to have my job.
Thank you guys so much for staying with us. Shout out to our amazing sponsors. So we're back in studio again with the beautiful, amazing, talented Taylor Higgins, and we're talking about her book, Between the Stitching. So we have a couple questions come in over the break. Thank you guys. Yes, we are going to get to those. The first thing that somebody wanted to know is, are you planning to make a film based on the book?
I am. Ooh. And I will be announcing that. I'm not going to do it here, but okay. I will be announcing that, yes.
After I actually was finished reading the book, I remember I texted Taylor, and she can attest to this.
Yeah.
I texted her, I go, that would be an amazing screenplay.
Yeah.
You need to create this and make a movie out of it.
Yep. Oh, it's coming.
Somebody also wants to know, emotional, was it hard to sit down and share your story and be vulnerable to the world? And if so, how did you overcome that? This question comes from Caitlin Richard. She's actually watching live as we speak.
Hey, Caitlin.
Oh, hey, Caitlin. Yeah, I was really afraid to share this story because I thought that I'd receive a lot of backlash, if not from just people or females in general. I thought that maybe the baseball community would be, not so nice about what I had to say, but I own my story, and I haven't actually received any negative feedback, which was something that helped me overcome the fact that I put myself out there so much so, and I actually just helped several thousands of people in the meantime, so that in itself was very reassuring that I did do the right thing.
Now, somebody else asked, how did other women react to the story when you share your story with them and say, this is what I went through? How have other women that have gone through similar situations reacted to that?
People say that I have just completely changed their lives. I've actually stopped one woman from walking down the aisle last summer. She had a wedding plan. She canceled her wedding after she read my book. No lie. This is true. I've had countless testimonies and just people saying that I have completely changed their life and their outlook on love after reading this story. Yeah, it's been incredible. The feedback and the comments, especially from women, but even some men, fathers, mothers, guys that have gone through this. I mean, not all cheaters, emotional abusers, and narcissists are females. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Not all cheaters.
I'm sorry, men, yeah.
Yeah, not all cheaters are men. You're correct. So, again, we're basing this off of Taylor's book, and she obviously dates men, so that's why we're showcasing guys. But this book can really go for anybody. You can read this book and be like, wow, I'm actually going through this really poor situation. Like, how do I get the courage to get out of this situation and to move on? And her book actually highlights, and we'll get into that shortly, but how you actually overcome and finally say, you know what, I'm going to pack my bags.
Yeah.
I remember reading this book, and every chapter, as we got closer, I'm like, this is the chapter she's packing and leaving.
And the book is like still like really thick, and you're like, nope, she's not leaving yet.
But she's not leaving yet. And I'm like, okay, this might be the chapter that she's leaving. This might be the chapter that she's going to up and leave. It's not till the very end, of course, that she decides to up and leave, but I get it. You think that this person's going to change. Mm-hmm. You think that they're going to open up and realize that they're losing a good person and that they might wake up and realize who they are and change their ways, but sometimes they don't. And I'm happy that you, as a woman, you're empowered. You did decide to walk away with your dog. But before we continue this book, we're actually going to cut to Boston Bruins. Emma and I actually went to the Boston Bruins Foundation event a few weeks ago at the Harbor Cruise. So Emma, let's take it away. You can talk about that a little bit, and we're going to cut to the video shortly.
Yeah. So switching gears just a little bit slightly, just because you were a Bruins Ice Girl, we thought that it was perfectly fitting to pair you with our recent event that we just did with the Boston Bruins Foundation, who they are doing some amazing work. And in this particular event, they actually went to do their annual boat cruise to sponsor the Pan Mass Challenge, which of course does ride through the Cape, which I love. So they did a really awesome event, and they have a bunch of others coming up. So just to give you a little tease of it, here is what they did at the Boston Boat Cruise, and then we have a little bit of sneak peek for you on what's coming up. Here it is.
A little bit windy, but it's still a beautiful night out here on the Boston Harbor for the Boston Bruins Foundation. Brittany and I have a great event that we're at tonight. Britt, let's tell everybody more about what's happening here.
So we're here helping raise money for the Pan Mass Challenge. We're actually going to be going inside to chat with Bob Sweeney, who's the president of the Boston Bruins Foundation. The former Boston Bruins center knows a thing or two about his fellow Bostonians, having played for Boston College before joining the NHL and even inducted into their Hall of Fame in 2003. Sweeney knows firsthand that in this city, sports fans like to give back. Now the executive director for the Boston Bruins Foundation, Sweeney continues the tradition of their annual boat cruise to benefit the Pan Mass Challenge that players have been riding in to benefit Dana-Farber for over 14 years.
So last year we raised just over $450,000. This year we have 50 riders. We're hoping to get over $500,000.
The Pan Mass Challenge is just one of many events that the Bruins Foundation sponsors throughout the year. Sweeney says they keep donors coming back by offering lively events for multiple charities and organizations year-round, including a golf tournament coming up in just a few short weeks.
To kick off the season, we have our annual golf tournament on September 9th, which our whole team will be there, and a lot of our alumni out at the International in Bolton.
Yet, on this picture-perfect night on Boston Harbor with a soft breeze and the sounds of live music filling the air, patrons enjoyed fresh drinks, fun raffles, and the company of Bruins alumni eager to do their part in giving back alongside some of Boston's biggest fans.
One of the most inspiring things we see out on the road are small children, 5 and 6 years old, carrying signs that say, "I'm alive because of you. I'm 5 years old because of you." I got the same reaction. I tear up every time I'm riding. And if you're feeling a little bit tired or beat, you say, you know what, these guys are suffering a lot more than we ever will. And so we ride on. For the first 9 years, it was basically going out and asking people for money. And my friend Rich McDonald and I said, what can we do to raise money while giving something back to the people that are donating?
Frank and Rich came up with an idea that has now become one of the Foundation's largest events of the year.
So we created a bowling event in Bow of the Bruin. You bowl 2 strings at Wamisit Lanes in Tewksbury and have a great time. And this year we raised over $120,000. We had former Bruins, former Patriots, a bunch of TV personalities.
Now, would they judge me if I'm a terrible bowler?
You know what? Bowling is something everybody can do, whereas golf is a real challenge. No, we can put the bumpers up, and you can bowl and be a real hero out there.
Want to get inside the Boston Bruins Foundation's next upcoming fun event? Looks like you'll just have to stick with us.
The New York Rangers alumni are coming up to play the Boston Bruins alumni at Bentley Arena. This is October 26th at 1 o'clock at Bentley Arena to benefit the Warrior for Life Fund. We have Hall of Famers Ray Bork, Glenn Anderson, Brian Leach, and Brad Parks coming up from Florida to coach. We've got a bunch of other Hall of Famers and a lot of Bruins and Ranger alumni that everybody will recognize the names of.
All right, so what a fun night that was. That was pretty amazing. But events like that, Taylor, are something that you did quite a bit of. So can we talk more about some of the different charity events and foundations that you've worked with over the years?
Yeah, so the Boston Bruins, they were obviously involved with a lot of different charity events. One of my favorites, one of my standouts is, as I mentioned in that video, it's the Buzz for Kids event that they host at Gillette Stadium. It's all different retired football players, current football players. They come in, it's they shave. People you can sign up and you can actually buzz your head to raise money for kids with cancer. And that was just really moving to be there and see that, because there's a lot of attendees and people are just really involved with that. We've also done stuff with Prom to Remember for, again, kids with cancer or just underprivileged people that can't afford a prom dress. We actually help them select prom. We raise money for that. So all really cool things, but the Boston Bruins do a really good job with keeping, the team and at the time, the Ice Girls involved in the community.
Speaking of great things that you do within the community, it sounds like a girl that really admires you and loves you. Her name is, sorry if I butcher your last name a little bit, but Chelsea Schultz. Thank you so much for watching. We are all grateful. We see your comment below. So you said, my best memories of Taylor Higgins is that she showed up to my Special Olympics basketball game out of her busy schedule. It made my day. So we're going to speak a little bit about that. And Chelsea, thank you so much for watching. Again, we see all of you guys, all of your comments. So if you guys have comments or questions, we're going to be on here for another 20 minutes, which is great. Let us know what you guys are thinking. If you have any questions for any of us, especially Taylor, that's why she's here, ask away. But talk to us about Chelsea and her Special Olympics game.
So that was a really fun day. Hi, Chelsea. Thank you for watching. I know she shared this on her page. She was really excited to watch this episode tonight.
Oh, thank you, Chelsea.
Yeah. And so Chelsea and I have been friends for, I don't know how long, a few years. And I think it was, I don't know how long ago it was. Maybe last winter, I went to her Special Olympics basketball game up in New Hampshire. She's from New Hampshire, and I went and supported her team. She was an outstanding basketball player, and it was really fun to watch her and her team play. But she's really just a really great person. So thank you for watching.
We want to jump right back because we only have like another 15 minutes. I know that this hour goes by so crazy, but
it's not enough time.
It's not enough time. We want to talk.
Yeah, that's how we feel usually.
That's how we feel. We want to talk more about your book. First off, before we get back into your original book, do you have any plans to write any more books in the future?
Yes, I definitely do. People ask me that all the time, if not every day, when are you going to write something new? And I thought about doing some sort of, podcast like this, but that's why this is a really great form, because people want to hear what I have to say, and I can't obviously produce a book that quickly, especially with my busy schedule. I do work full-time as well. So having just an outlet to talk like this is perfect, and that's exactly why you guys are doing such a great thing with this forum. But yes, I do plan to write a second book. I'm working on it. It's really hard to do when you work full-time, but eventually. I don't want to say a date yet because...
What is this new book about? Can you give us a little bit of insight? Is it another relationship book, or is it a different topic?
It is going to be about, I think, in my opinion, from my experience, all of the relationships that you have to go through before you can find the one. So it's
before you get your soulmate.
Yeah. So it's again all from personal experience. So you're going to be seeing some familiar faces, maybe, but it's all. I think it's just the experiences that we go through before we actually can settle down and find the one.
See, I love this topic because as we all know, we have people like Emma who are getting married and they're very excited for that. And people like my sister Brooke, who has been with the same guy since high school.
Wow.
Literally just got married last fall, been together for 8 to 10 years, maybe longer. So there's some people that are lucky. They find the one, they don't cheat, they're not morons, they're just the one. And then you have people like us where no matter what you do, like you just find the wrong guy. Like I'm going through, my guy didn't cheat. I'm going to throw that out there. He's a pretty decent person, but he got cold feet and It's very hard going through a breakup after 3.5 months. It is still hard, but it's hard to find that perfect person, especially if you're picky and you have like a checklist. Like I have a checklist. I don't know about you guys, but when I go on a date, like you have to come from a good family. You can't do drugs. You have to be driven. You have to be creative. You have to be athletic. You can't be a bum.
She has like a resume.
I literally have like a resume. Like, babe, can you fill this out before we even go on our first date?
How's your relationship with your mom?
Yeah, let's talk about that. So we're gonna switch into your ex's family, dude. Like his mom was a psychopath. Like this lady, I couldn't believe the things that I was reading. Let's talk a little bit about your ex's family because that's very important. You have to find somebody that comes from a good family because you are a product of your environment, should we say the least.
Yeah.
Product of your environment.
Yeah.
So speak upon that in your book and touch upon his family and where he got some of his craziness. Like, there were parts of Taylor's book where she would speak about his father actually kind of almost like hitting on Taylor in front of him.
Oh, yeah.
And he was very controlling with the whole family, which is what essentially Skylar did to you. Skylar did to you in the book or in real life.
Yeah. Having a good relationship with your family is so important. It's so obvious to me now after dating several people that don't have good relationships with their family, why that is such an issue and such a problem with dating today. I'm sure that his mother is actually watching this because she still creeps on my mom's Instagram. Crazy. Skylar's mom still watches my mom's Instagram story. So
hey, what's up if you're watching tonight?
How you doing, Doreen? It's really great to hear from you and see you. So,
hey, Doreen.
But anyways, yes, having good relationships with your family is important. His parents were so controlling. They were manipulative, but they actually didn't care about the well-being of their sons, which I found crazy. They had so much to say about everything, but they didn't care about just their health and their well-being in general.
It was almost like they looked at Skylar as a way to make money. Like they saw him as a machine. It wasn't, this is my son, this is somebody that is going to provide for our family potentially someday. And I know that he had a couple of other brothers or maybe a sister, I forget. But
he had 3 brothers,
3 brothers that they don't even talk about. And she made really bad meals. I loved the part in the book where you kind of like write the letter to her or the text message to her and you're kind of...
And just let her have it.
You just kind of like let her have it and just like crap all on her about like how she isn't good at cooking and like the couponing and just like... I laughed during that part. I was like, that's the part of the book where it like turns around and you're like, yo, this girl is awesome, dude. Spill the beans,
this
man.
Woman,
spill the beans.
I just have to say, I have to share a recipe from this woman. She prepared this lovely dinner for me.
Was the mac and cheese, dude?
No. We're gonna go with the chicken stew tonight. She is famous for this chicken stew. Okay, this is the recipe. Very simple ingredients, people. You're gonna get a stock pot, fill it with water.
Mrs. Higgins is dying in the corner, by the way. Dying.
My mom
laughing.
is like gonna spit out her water. So stock pot, fill it with water. Add some whole milk. Throw like a rotisserie chicken in it. Let it soak. Add some saltines. You guys serve this.
Wait a second now.
It is horrible. I forced it down. I was like, oh my God, this is terrific. They were all like raving about it. Mom's chicken stew is amazing. And I'm like, trying to get it down. I'm like, oh my God, how late is Chick-fil-A open tonight? It was terrible. But yeah, simple recipe, life hacks.
All right, that's what I'm gonna make for Jake tonight. I'm cooking dinner this week.
And I feel
chicken stew.
And I feel bad for you because speaking about Chick-fil-A and you wanting to actually eat different food, he didn't even allow it because you weren't really working because you were supporting him. And there's a really sad part in the book where Taylor is getting ready to up and leave him and she's almost kind of like testing the waters, like, hey, is he gonna change? So they're sitting down like out, I forget the name of the place, but they're out to breakfast somewhere. Hey babe, can you get me like a breakfast sandwich? Like she was just testing the waters and she was about to get on the airplane home. And he's like, no, you know that I can't provide for 2 people. Like,
yeah, that was the last day I ever saw him. I drove him to the field.
Thank
He was in
God.
I know.
The stuff that I read, like Mrs. Higgins caught him cheating. Like, we'll touch upon that because it stinks. We're about to wrap up. I almost feel like we need to have you back in here.
I think
again
I need an
point.
episode too because we need one that's just all about between the stitching.
Yeah, we need another one that's just all about your book. But in the book, it highlights the fact that she caught him, again, we already spoke about it, but using different names.
Yep.
Not only that, Mrs. Higgins would catch messages and catch him. Taylor would be out doing her Ice Girl stuff and he would lie and say that he was at home sleeping, but he'd really be out at a baseball field or at a baseball complex with like another girl. And Mrs. Higgins is like, where are you? And meanwhile, she's in the driveway, like creeping on him. which is awesome.
Mom to the rescue.
Dude, like they became like prime detectives. Like they figured out exactly what was going on, which thankfully that they did, because this poor girl, or woman should I say, at the time you were a girl, now you're older, would have still been in that horrific relationship. So thank God you guys were doing your homework, because you probably would still be with him.
They make you do your homework. But the worst thing
What was the worst part about that relationship?
The worst part about it was that he thought there was nothing wrong. And
He used to lie.
The most toxic people think that there is nothing wrong with whatever it is that they're doing. And it's so alarming. And that's why I was documenting everything, because he would be so wrong, or I would see things and he would actually convince me that they weren't happening. And that was the worst part about that relationship.
I'm sure we all have dated guys that do that. So if you guys
can you guys relate?
Can you relate? Can you relate?
Yes, I'm sorry. I've sat here this whole time and not said anything
Okay,
because
tell us
I
a story.
wanted to hear your
Tell
story
us a
so
story.
badly. Years ago, before I met my wonderful, amazing husband-to-be, there was a guy that I dated that I actually met. He lived a couple towns over from my hometown, and he and I dated, and he moved 2 months into us dating, and he was like, do you want to go with me? Want to move to South Carolina? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, why not? I'm going to go. So I went, never had noticed any signs with him. He was, super attractive, super friendly. All my friends loved him. I mean, I never saw a single thing wrong. We, granted, only dated for 2 months, and then we wound up, traveling to see each other long distance because he was in South Carolina. So I wound up moving in that summer with him, and it was the worst experience of my entire life.
This is the North Carolina guy?
South Carolina guy.
South Carolina guy.
Yeah, I moved down there, and the second I got there, he was like, you need to find a job day one, and you need to pay me back for all these moving fees, because I moved to an area that was closer to jobs that you could have.
That's literally what he would
and I was
say
like,
to me.
Okay, so I tried to find one, couldn't find a job for like a month, because it's South Carolina in the middle of nowhere, and I didn't realize in the area that we moved to, they were not very kind to Northerners. So I had a very difficult time, and I did not realize that that was such a heavy thing. So we went through a lot with that, but he was hiding a lot of things from me that I didn't know. He would tell me things about myself. He would, like, if I was in the bathroom getting ready for the day, he would walk in and grab my stomach and be like, oh, make sure you eat something healthy
Like a narcissist. That's what he used to do to you.
Like, grabbing my stomach. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, there must be something wrong with me. He put me through so many different things, to the point where I remember it was one of my best friends at the time called my stepdad and was like, hey, there's something going on. You have to go get Emma. She's like, I was down to like 72 pounds. I was tiny. Like, I couldn't, like, I wasn't really eating. He was working me out every day on the same regimen he would do as like a dude building muscle
So would you go to
mass.
the gym with him?
I had to every day.
Did he?
Every day.
Were you allowed to go to the gym without him?
Yes, I was. But he would ask me, like, what did you eat today? What did you do today? So that was a big problem. And I'll never forget that the most thing that I was most grateful for was my best friend called my dad. And he called, and I'll never forget this voicemail, because he came home and he was like shaking, and he was like, oh, he called me. What did you say to him? What did you say? And he like showed me the phone, and he goes, hello there, Mr. Fox. Just wanted to let you know that you have about 20 minutes until I'm done cooking my dinner. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to eat that dinner, and then I'm going to get in my car, and then I'm going to drive down to South Carolina, and I'm going to come get my daughter from you, unless you get her on a plane right now and send her back to me. So you've got about 20 minutes figured out, because when I'm done with this meal, she's coming home. And so he freaked out. And he called, and he was like, I don't know where you got this. I don't know where you got this. So, yeah, but that experience.
Did you go home?
I went home.
It almost sounds
I went
similar.
home.
We only have a few minutes to chat about this, but it sounds similar to your situation. I know we have to wrap up, but at the end of Taylor's book, you guys should definitely read it again. Between the stitching, it's great. But essentially, Taylor ended up moving back because between her parents telling her that she had to go and her realizing all these horrific things that were happening, she ended up packing her bags, taking her dog, and here she is now, obviously being an empowered woman and trying to live her best life, and she's going to write another book.
I'll end
hopefully.
with this. I think I would never tell someone, if you're in a toxic relationship and you feel like you can't get out, I'll never tell anybody that you need to just leave. It'll feel inside for yourself. So never
You go
just
through
feel
the
like,
steps.
Yeah, I mean, you'll get knocked and knocked and knocked, and then all of a sudden one day you will wake up and everything, it'll be so clear that you just need to leave.
Well, Taylor, thank you so much for coming in. We would definitely love to have you back in here maybe this winter to talk just strictly about your book, and maybe at that point you'll have a couple chapters written about your new book, so we could talk about that. Thank you again, Mary, from On the Road Again Bags. We want to have you guys check out her website, but we are excited to see you guys back here August 26th for our next episode.
Yes. See you guys soon.